a wind and couldn't see land, and it was kind of discouraging because we weren't making very good headway. But the farther we would get to Whitefish Point, the warmer the waters got, and the easier it was to warm up.
Yeah, and obviously we call it a lake because it is a lake, but for those who haven't seen Superior, it's like an ocean, isn't it?
It is. It's basically a freshwater sea, and you can't see land. If it's not for the boat, you'd have no idea where to swim.
Jeez. And you were carrying a little something extra, weren't you?
Yes. We all got an iron ore pellet from the Superior dock, which is where the Edmund Fitzgerald loaded in November 9th, 1975. But we all got a little pellet, and I put mine inside my swim cap, so I had a little marble inside my swim cap. Just swam with it.
In honor of those who died on the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yes.
I have to admit to you, Tammy, that throughout this conversation, I've had the Gordon Lightfoot. I've had the Gordon Lightfoot song, "Legend Lives On" from. Very, very famous song. Do you?
Yeah.
And that's how most people, certainly in Canada, learned of the details of what happened that night. What do you remember learning about the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald growing up in Minnesota?
I was 12 years old, a farm kid who didn't listen to the news much, but we did hear about it. And you're right. As I grew up, it was the song that kind of brought it to life for us. You're exactly right.
I understand you've been in touch with the family of one of the crew members. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I swam for the 29 Mariners, but especially in memory of Paul Ripa. Paul was 22 and a deckhand on the Edmund Fitzgerald, and I didn't know any of the Mariners prior to signing up for the swim. And Paul had a college football friend named Dan, and he encouraged me to reach out to the Ripa family. He said, you just got to do this. He said they would really like that. And so I found them on Facebook and messaged them and asked if I could swim in Paul's memory. And they have just been wonderful, and they just are so appreciative because they want people to remember him and all the Mariners. They want to keep his name alive.
Wow.
And remember their brother. They love him and miss him.
Well, you've done that for them. Have you spoken with them since the swim?
We've messaged back and forth many times since March, but I've never met them, and I really would like to.
Oh,
they're wonderful people.
Yeah, no kidding. You've got to find a way to do that. Look, all of this, obviously, it's commemorating the anniversary, but it's also to raise money, right, for the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society. How's that money going to be used?
Well, I think we've raised a little over $180,000, and the money goes to help restore the Whitefish Point Lighthouse, just to keep it up because it's supposed to be the oldest lighthouse on Lake Superior.
Am I right? Does legend have it that lighthouse went dark the night?
Yes, it did.
The Edmund Fitzgerald went down? Yep,
it was dark that night. And I don't know if it may have been because of the storm. I don't know. But they made it to 17 miles of safety. And I guess our team, we kind of feel like we symbolically, made it the 17 miles for the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Tammy, thank you for reminding us of Paul's life and all 29. Good work with the swim. Thank you for all of this.
You're welcome. Thank you. I mean, it's been an honor to be a part of this swim, so I appreciate you reaching out.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Tammy Lenners-Caruth was in Montevideo, Minnesota. She's one of the swimmers taking part in the Edmund Fitzgerald Memorial Swim, which continues throughout August.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore for 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty. That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early.
By now, everyone in Winkler, Manitoba knows that Bubba sucks at fishing. A sign first popped up just outside town last year, spelling that message out in big, bright letters. And when it did, resident Steve Peters immediately wondered if it was aimed at him. His uncle did give him the nickname Bubba when he was a kid, and it stuck. But it wasn't until weeks later that his suspicions were confirmed, when a second sign went up. This one read, "There are two types of people, ones who can fish and Steve Peters." But whatever Mr. Peters lacks in fishing skills, he makes up for in generosity. He's posted photos of the signs to Facebook, and for every like or comment he gets, he donates $1 to buy fishing equipment for kids who need it. We reached Steve Bubba Peters in Winkler, Manitoba.
Steve, I got to ask, do you suck at fishing or do you not suck at fishing?
So that all depends who you ask. So there's that term, brother from another mother. If you ask Derek Friesen, we call him Deep Freeze, he would say absolutely I do. I don't think I suck as bad as he and the signs have said, but he would be sure to tell people that I am not a good fisherman.
How are you as a detective? Have you been able to figure out who's behind all this?
There is a list of suspects because a few of my friends are big into pranks and jokes, but I've done some digging and they've kind of been ruled out. I haven't been able to figure it out yet.
First time you ever saw the sign insulting your fishing skills, how did you feel?
I laughed. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I honestly didn't know what to think. I was like, it's cool, you know.
Sounds like you're a little bit honored, I got to say.
You know, in a way I am, because you know what, there's a lot of things I could be known for, a lot worse things I should say. So sucking at fishing isn't necessarily such a bad thing.
So then you decided to flip the whole thing around and use all this attention to raise money for kids. What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, so the community where I grew up in Winkler is known for being giving and supportive. So when the first sign that came up in Winkler, I was driving to go look at it with my wife, and I said, you know what, I got to do something with this. You can't let something like this really go to waste. So I made a Facebook post about it, and it was for every like and share from my Facebook page, I would donate $1. And then two of my really good friends, Mark Fair, we call him Squinty, and Derek Friesen, we call him Deep Freeze. They both said, you know what, whatever you put in, we'll match. They're both a couple local business owners. And so it kind of grew from there, and it's kind of grown into this community has supported me. There was a big support during my battle with cancer a number of years ago. So in a sense, I guess it's just my way of giving back to the community.
First of all, I'm processing the fact that you have two friends named Squinty and Deep Freeze.
Yes. Yeah. After word got out that they were going to match, then it was just different community members saying, hey, you know what, we're going to throw in this monetary donation, we're going to throw in this much. And then our local Canadian Tire said, you know what, we'll chip in. There was Four Pines Construction, Nudimic Lodge in the White Shell, they chipped in. We've had monetary donations from Barhead, Alberta. So it kind of blew up a lot bigger than I ever expected it to.
You ever get a stranger come up to you and make reference to it?
I have actually. Driving down Main Street through Winkler, on a nice day, you have your window open, and there's been a few times where someone will yell, "Bubba sucks at fishing," and I have no idea who they are. So I just give them away, and I say, yep, it's true. I just go on with the day.
Tell me about the Winkler Harvest Festival coming up.
Yeah, so one day I was driving, and I was like, you know what? I said it would be cool to be a part of the parade, right? Like, so yeah, that kind of planted the seed, and then it was like, well, you know what? I'm a big fan of different shirts that have funny sayings on. So I was like, you know what? Let's make some shirts, and then we can sell them. And the proceed, like a small proceed from that, will go to purchasing more fishing equipment, and we're going to hand it out at our local Winkler Harvest Festival parade.
What do you think you're going to do if you ever find out who started all this?
So I've been in our local radio station a couple times, and I've said both times, like, if I ever find out who it is, I am taking them for a nice steak dinner because, one, it's genius, and the signs they come up with are hilarious, and two, like, essentially without them putting up these signs, it wouldn't have gotten to the point where it is now.
Steve, or if you don't, can I call you Bubba?
Absolutely. You certainly can. Yeah,
Bubba.
Most people do.
Bubba, not everyone who's on the receiving end of this kind of thing would necessarily take it the way you have. Where do you think that spirit within you comes from to take this all in good fun?
Oh, man. You know, my dad told me years ago, the easiest person to make fun of is yourself. If you can't laugh at yourself, like, you're missing out on life. So, I mean, there's a lot of things I could be upset about, and I could be like, why me? This isn't fair. But, you know, it's much easier to smile and laugh about it than it is to be upset about it. I like to think I'm a pretty easygoing person, and I enjoy jokes. So I think it's more so just the fact that somebody was creative enough to come up with this. And I think the greatest thing about it is it's still a mystery. Like, having no idea who it is, I think that adds to the whole thing.
Look, Bubba, you may or may not suck at fishing, but you sound like a great guy, and I appreciate the time you've taken for us today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I very much appreciate you interviewing me about this.
We reached Steve Bubba Peters in Winkler, Manitoba. Forget what you've heard. Life is not a beach, at least not in the French resort town of Les Sables d'Olonne. To be clear, there is still a beach there, one that's a huge tourist draw and a key component of the town's raison d'être. But there's also an actual town there, and tourists tend to saunter through it straight from the beach sans change of attire, and locals are tired of it. The town will now issue fines of up to €150 or $238 to anyone caught walking around topless or in their swimsuits anywhere other than the beach. The mayor announced the new fines in a Facebook post in which he implored, quote, "A little outfit, please?" By which I believe he means to please wear an actual outfit, not specifically a little one. In fact, his tone suggests the more outfit, the better. He calls it a matter of respect to refrain from tootling around town, quote, half naked, which he describes as a vicious tendency. Ouch. We imagine officials will be keeping a clothes watch from here on out. So to those of you feeling a bit targeted, we have to advise you to keep your shirt on no matter how hot you are under your lack of collar. Here's Owen Pallett with Lewis Takes Off His Shirt.
As soon as I